And today our presenter is Debbie Zimmerman. And I'm so excited because I have the opportunity to introduce Debbie. And you know, what's interesting about Debbie is just like many of us, she has a history anchored in experiences with her own family about what a difference diet can make. Her grandparents had those chronic diseases, cardiovascular disease, they had cancer and diabetes. And she swore at the age of 14, I am going to live a life of prevention. And she's helped us do that too. I first ran into Debbie when we both worked at the school board, and she was the wellness director. And I remember she got me started on the wellness train. She started herself, and then she began working with this huge school board for Polk County, and it's phenomenal what she has accomplished. Now that she's retired, she's a lifestyle coach, so she does coaching individually. And I don't know if you read Jane Brody, she used to write for the Ledger, but she says it's a smart idea to have a lifestyle coach. So keep that in mind if you decide to go that route. Debbie's great at that. And as she comes to us today as the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine Food for Life instructor, that's a very elite group. They're chosen from all over the world, and their job is to share nutrition and cooking. And so we're really excited that Debbie's going to do that today. Meals in Minutes. Take it away, Deb.
Thank you, Kathy, for the beautiful introduction. And I would like to introduce my coworker here, Linda Troop. So Linda and I have worked together for many years, probably close to 40 years. And we worked together at the school board. She was actually my boss when I was in the wellness program. And now she's still my boss in the kitchen.
Oh, no. This is my mentor. This is my coach and my very dear friend.
Yeah, we are wonderful friends for a long time. So anyway, we've got Meals in a Minute. And, one thing that we emphasize in the advertisement that we need to prepare, we need to prep or plan our meals, we need to prep them, and then we need to prepare them. And so as Linda and I go through this, we want to make sure that you understand that planning is very important if you want to do something in minutes. And so we're going to talk about the different recipes, but how you can plan it and then have things prepped so that all you have to do is throw it together when you are in a hurry, okay? So the first recipe, and I hope everybody got the recipes this morning at 8 o'clock in the email.
Debbie, tell them about the recipes in case they didn't get them, because they may not have looked this morning.
The first one we are going to be doing is Mexican rice. And with Mexican rice, we also are going to be making a fresh salsa. From there, we're going to be making a pizza hummus. And we're going to be using that pizza hummus on personal pizzas. And all of these can be done very, very quickly. And then we are going to be making a layered salad that's going to be in a jar. So you can make this in advance. And after you do that, you can put it in the refrigerator for several days. And then the grand finale is going to be an almond chocolate mousse, and it is absolutely delicious. So as we have done these, we wanted to make sure that we are following the SOS standards of a whole food plant-based diet. And if you're not familiar with that SOS, it is going to be sugar-free. It's going to be oil-free, and it's also going to be salt-free. And so this is the whole food plant-based SOS, and I hope you enjoy it. And so we are starting with our Mexican rice, and just due to timing, and one thing else I want to mention to everybody, if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. And then Kathy is going to ask us those questions so we can answer them, right while we're in the midst of the cooking demo, okay?
Yeah, and Sue's here to help too. So we've got two people to move that through to you.
Okay, So to get started, our recipe calls for onions, green onions, garlic, and also red peppers. Well, it calls for orange peppers, but I put red peppers in the refrigerator.
Does it matter? I mean,
It does not matter. So, and actually, I believe, now this recipe originated from Mary McDougall, and I believe she actually had green peppers. And if you've been to any of my cooking classes, you'll never see green peppers because I don't like green peppers. You won't see cucumbers either because I hate those as well. So anyway, it's not saying that those are not healthy. It's just I personally can't handle them. So if there's anything in these recipes that you cannot handle, just omit it or swap it out for something that you do enjoy. Okay. So we have, I've already put the vegetable broth, and I just wanted to show you what type of vegetable broth. This is Kitchen Basics vegetable broth. And I'm showing you this because this has the lowest sodium. If you've ever checked any of the vegetable broths, you will see that this one has 170 milligrams of sodium. It has no added oil, which is very important. So when you're looking at the label, you want to make sure that the label does not say canola oil or olive oil. Even though they're healthy oils, you don't want added oil in your food to be under the SOS standard. Okay, so this one's no oil added, and it's also low sodium. And I think this is the one you use too, right, Linda?
yes.
Okay, so we've already added the vegetable broth. We have the onion sauteing. Those are green onions. We have the red pepper sauteing. And so now we are going to add our rice and our black beans. Let's see. So we're going to add black beans, corn, rotel, tomato. Okay, we stir in the rice last. So I have my black beans. And you'll hear me say that it's easy to buy a pound of beans, soak them. If you have an Instapot, which I truly recommend if you're eating a lot of beans, because the Instapot will cook your beans in 30 to 35 minutes.
You don't have to soak them, right?
Well, I soak them. So actually, that's a good point. Because if you soak them, you're not going to have the gas that's usually associated with your beans. So you do want to soak those. And if you are a person who is dealing with gastric issues, the smaller beans are better. Okay, so that's something to consider. You want to start with small, like lentils or black beans, but you don't want to start with a red bean because those are going to be very hard to digest.
That was 1 cup of corn.
Actually, Linda, I had some extra corn, so I threw it in. So it's probably about 1.5 cups of corn. But if there's something that you like, and I love corn, especially right now, it's fresh and you can roast it or you can steam it. So I love it, and it just works beautifully.
So if you were using canned corn, you would drain it and rinse it just to get some of the salt?
Yes, because canned corn is usually very salty.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you drain it and rinse it, that works real well. Now, I also have to add my Rotel. And so I got the Rotel salt-free. Let me get focused here. So salt-free or no salt added Rotel. Now, the only caveat with this is to let you know that the no salt added does not come in mild. So this is going to have a kick. So if you don't like the kick, you're kind of in trouble. But this, as far as sodium goes, it only has 15 milligrams of sodium.
For the whole can?
No, per serving. So there's 2.5 servings in here. So you're looking at about 55 milligrams of sodium for the whole meal.
How many milligrams of sodium do we have? Are we allowed to have per day?
Well, it's recommended that we don't go more than 1,500 milligrams a day. So that would be about 1.5 grams. But you know what, Linda? When you're looking at the standard American diet, it's very easy to be 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So when we limit it to 1,500, we're really cutting back, but we're also cutting back our risk for high blood pressure. Okay?
I noticed you don't have any cilantro here.
No, that's a good thing. Okay, so you remember my list? No cucumbers, no green peppers, no cilantro. So I don't like cilantro. Instead, I use parsley. And I like to take my parsley and chop it up with my garlic because I use those a lot. And so I always have that on hand already prepped.
Debbie,
Okay.
Catherine says that she likes that kick from those green chilies.
Yeah.
You don't like it really hot though, do you?
I like a little tiny kick, almost like when the doctor tests your knee and it's just a little tiny jerk. I don't want to like a big kick. So anyways, no. So anyway, now our rice. The recipe calls for frozen rice. And you'll find at Publix there are a lot of convenient foods, but you're also going to find them with the price tag, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your rice freezes very, very easily. Why not make a big pot and then put them in freezer bags, mark what it is, and then mark the date so that you're not you're not wondering how long this has been in the freezer. So this was frozen last week. It is wild rice and it was convenient, so I pulled it out and I'm going to put the rice in here.
How long does the leftover rice keep in the refrigerator if you're, if you're batch cooking or cooking for a double recipe or something? How long will that?
I would say it's going to last at least 4 or 5 days, if not 6. I may stretch it a little bit, but I've never gotten sick. Let's just say that. And then I'm using salsa in here. Now we're going to make a salsa in a moment, but I also have, you don't have to make your own salsa. You just need to be careful about how much sodium is in the salsa. So this is Members Mark Fresh Salsa. And it is very, very nice. And it's the lowest amount of sodium.
And you get that at Sam's?
I get that at Sam's. And if you've been to my classes, y'all know I live at Sam's on my days off. So, okay, so Linda, look how pretty this is.
And that serves 4 people?
Well,
They're hungry people.
very hungry
It
people.
looks delicious.
Okay, so Linda, what ways can we use this?
Well, we can use it with veggies. We can eat it plain. It looks like it smells delicious too. You could put it with spinach. You could throw in some greens there. That would be really good. And we could also stuff. It just so happens that we have some acorn. Well, actually, what kind of squash?
These are delicata squash. And I haven't seen these in Publix lately, but they certainly are in Chamberlain's over at Grove Park. So now why did that go out? Went out.
Start your camera again.
Well, no. What?
Start my video.
Okay. Start your video. And Debbie, I'm going to just use one camera right now for Spotlight because it's not, you're not getting much different on each one. So we'll just go with that one.
So which one are you using? The big camera? Yes, you're using the big camera. Okay, so these are delicata squash. And we lightly roasted them. Ooh, I'm burning myself. That's not the way to show people how to cook. So anyway, Casey, can you zoom in? So I stuffed this with the squash, or I stuffed it in the squash, and I'm going to do the other one. Hold on, I'm getting a message here. Let me close that. What does that say? Keep the browser open. Okay, sorry, McAfee wanted to do something. Okay, so then I'm just going to stuff the other one. And then I will put this in the oven. Now, I had lightly roasted the squash beforehand. And sorry, I keep getting a message from McAfee, so I'm not sure what that is. But anyway, we had put the squash in the oven for about 20 minutes. And so it is basically cooked. But at this point, I'm just going to put it in for a little bit longer and get it warmed up. And this will be a beautiful meal. Now, this will also go into the refrigerator and will stay for 3 or 4 days if this is not something that you want to have right now. Okay.
Okay, Debbie, can I just review now? So what you did was you just dumped black beans, you dumped corn, you dumped tomatoes, and whatever else you wanted to season it, right?
Correct.
And you already had the cooked rice, so you could dump it in. And then the variety of ways to use it were in the delicata squash, or what were some of the other things you said?
You could do the delicata squash. You could also do, if you have your tortillas, you could make the little tacos and make a taco and then put your not your spinach, your lettuce and tomatoes on top.
Okay.
And you could also do pita pockets.
Oh,
with
yeah. That would be good.
There's many ways that you can use this. You could actually just have it plain, just like this, because this is a perfect meal. You've got your beans, your rice, your corn, your tomatoes are actually your fruit, and you have onions. So, I mean, this is a meal in itself. Okay.
And just tell them about the fact that these are completely oil-free and low sodium.
Okay. So yeah, that is important. So these come from.
Debbie, no, we need the other camera, the phone camera. The phone camera.
Okay, hold on.
You're good. It's on.
Okay. No, there was something in the middle of. Okay, so this is your tortillas, and they actually come from Aldi's. And there is no oil in these. Most of the tortillas you're going to find have 1 or 1.5 grams of fat in them. This has no added fat. And these come from Aldi's, and my special friend picks them up for me.
So there's only very, very low salt. I think it's 10 milligrams maybe. Sodium, zero.
Yeah.
No.
So this is truly SOS. Okay. So we're going to move on because we have to keep moving. Are there any questions with that, Kathy?
No, but I just wanted to check. I'm going to put this in the chat. Are there any other wraps that people have used? Let's see if we get anything that are low salt and low fat.
Okay.
Let me know if you know of any, because I'm curious. Just
Oh,
not everybody
now
has
I
a
like
plan.
Extreme Wellness Wrap. Now it does have added fat to it, but it is very low. And the reason why I like it so well is because it has a lot of fiber. It has 11 grams of fiber in it. So, when we're trying to increase our fiber, 11 grams in one wrap is really great. And it's 50 calories. So for those people who are diabetics who are trying to keep the glycemic load down, that certainly is a great way.
Now, don't you have a cheese topping that
For the pizza.
and yes, here too, it looks like you can use it. You could use the cheese sauce for anything.
Well, that's true. Yes. Okay.
It was with the acorn
Yeah.
squash.
So, so on top of this cheese, on top of the acorn squash, you could use a cheese sauce. And I'll be talking about one a little bit later on that we made. You don't have the recipe for it, but it's made with potatoes and, of course, the nutritional yeast. which we'll be talking about in a second. But yeah, that makes a really nice cheese sauce, and there's no fat in it.
Is that on your website, that recipe?
It may be, yeah. I think it is.
You can put it there.
Yeah, I can put it there, exactly. Okay, so moving on, we have fresh salsa. And so fresh salsa, of course, begins with our tomatoes. And we have 2 cups of tomatoes that are chopped up.
And Debbie, they look so red on the phone that we've, on the spotlight for you is the phone. So that's what we've got up now, because it's so red and pretty. So look at the phone. Look at your phone.
Okay, so you got the phone up. So actually my head is kind of chopped off in my phone.
Yeah, it is. But that's a clear, that's a clearer camera.
Okay, so we got the red tomatoes, they're plum tomatoes, and we chop them up. The next thing we're going to do is add some onion to this. And, you know, the recipe calls for, here we go, 1 small onion. And I have a tendency to buy large onions. So this was a little bit larger, so I'm not using all of it. The next thing that it calls for are chilies. And so we're using these diced chilies. Okay, so we're using diced chilies. And it says to have a third of a cup of diced green chilies. And I'm thinking that this is going to be spicy, so I'm not going to put all of that because I've already mentioned that I don't necessarily like spicy. And then I'm going to add the lime juice and a little bit of pepper. Now, of all things, I did not have cayenne pepper, but I certainly had chili peppers. So I am going to just mix this up. If you want to grab that, the bowl over there. Okay, and so mixing this up, and that's all you need for this recipe. However, you can add a few things to this. And one of those things are the mangoes. So we're going to add some mangoes to this, and that's just going to add a little zing to it. It's also going to add a beautiful color to it because we know our mangoes are full of beta carotene, and we want to make sure we have a lot of color, and we want to make sure we have as many colors as possible. But our beta carotene is an antioxidant, and it's so important to have it on a daily basis. So look how gorgeous this salsa is. And this is perfect for our holidays, our football season, our baseball season, even tonight for our hockey game. Isn't it tonight or is it tomorrow? Tonight. So we got to root on our Bolts to a win. So let's add this to our serving bowl, and it's going to make a very nice game day treat, right? Okay, and so Linda, you are the pro at making these tacos or these tortillas. So tell us your secret.
Well, I'll go back to the tortillas. And what we did with these is we cut 1 tortilla into quarters. Now, if you have memories from Phillies, you can roast or toast the tortilla in the oven for about at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. And then we flip them and do another 10. You have to, all the ovens are going to vary, so you'll have to kind of check out yours to see how long you need to leave them in there. But they crisp up nicely, as you can see, and they last for 2 or 3 weeks. So that makes it nice. You always can have them on hand.
They don't last in my house 2 or 3 weeks. Just to clarify, they are very tasty, and even my dogs get very excited over the tortillas. So anyway.
If you wanted to do the whole tortilla, just break them up after they're toasted the whole thing. That's the way Chili's used to serve them when I used to go to Chili's. But
Yeah. So anyway, look how beautiful it is. We have a lot of color here and a lot of taste as well. Any questions, Kathy?
No, but will you do me a favor? I'm gonna put that one in spotlight. So do the phone again. Let's see what it looks like up close.
Okay. So
Oh,
is that
yeah.
in spotlight?
Yeah, that looks good. Boy, that
Okay.
looks, look at all those rich colors.
Aren't they gorgeous?
Uh-huh.
And you know, your eye catches those beautiful colors. And you know, because you need it and your body just is drawn to all of those beautiful, beautiful colors.
Debbie,
Okay,
Mary has made chips too. And she says that she likes to put spices on them too when she makes them.
So Mary, I guess my question is, do you ever put like lime juice and then the spices on top of that to get them to hold?
Can you unmute Mary and tell her? Or you want to chat?
Just unmuted. I use, sometimes I'll lay a wet paper towel on top of them
Okay.
and dampen them and then put the spices on. I've used lemon juice. I haven't used lime. Lime would be better, I think.
oh, that's a great idea, Mary. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
Yeah, that is good. I was afraid if you put too much, it may get soggy and not get crisp.
Yeah.
But the paper towel really sounds awesome. Okay, next we go to the pizza. I'm not rushing, but I want to make sure that we have enough time here. So
Hummus.
the pizza hummus is what we're going to first. And the recipe calls for 2 cans of beans. And I made these. So Linda, will you want to show them my bag?
Oh, yeah.
So if y'all are doing cooking classes, you may know that there are a lot of beans in cooking classes. So I want you to see how big this bag of beans is. So this is food to live, almost like food for life. But this is actually a 10-pound bag of garbanzo beans.
Actually, I thought this was food for Debbie's angel baby.
So anyway, saying that, you know, you always try to get things on the cheap. Let me just say cheap, inexpensively. And so when you order them in a big bulk, if you're using them on a regular basis, that's the best way to go. But 1 pound of beans, dry beans, is going to make 6 cups of cooked beans. So keep that in mind, because 1 can is 1.5 cups. So if this recipe is for 2 cans, that would be 3 cups or 1/2 pound of beans. So 2 cans of beans, Linda, may be $3.50 to $4, where 1 pound of beans may be less than $2. So think about how you can cut corners. Of course, your Instapot is really going to make things a whole lot faster. So consider that an investment in your future if you are to buy an Instapot.
Deb, if you were using canned beans, where would you get the liquid? Because wouldn't you want to rinse them to get the additional salt?
Yes. So if there's a lot of salt in there, that's an awesome question. If there's a lot of salt in there, you can just use the regular water, and the water is not going to have the salt in it. But this was from what I made, and I don't use salt when I am preparing.
So that's what they call aquafaba.
Yes, that is what they call aquafaba. And a lot of your recipes actually call for you to do something with aquafaba. Okay.
Debbie, before we move now, if you're doing this not necessarily the most economical way, but wanting to get things done, how many cans of beans would I need to put in there?
Yeah, 2 cans of beans.
Okay, so we can still dump if we need to.
You can still dump. Yes, Kathy, that's a very important piece. But let me just say one thing. You can do a whole bunch of beans and you can freeze them, and they freeze beautifully. Okay, so either way, you certainly want to, consider, that's part of the planning and prepping. So what part do you want to do? Okay, so the next thing we are going to add are our dried, sun-dried tomatoes. And these are actually smoked tomatoes. This is the bag. Let me hold it up here. Whoops, hold it up here. Unless Kathy, you want to do, there you go. Sun-dried tomatoes. This is in the produce section at Publix, okay? So also, I boiled water, just a couple of cups of water. I boiled it and I poured it over the tomatoes because it's going to make it easier to blend. And the next thing I'm going to add are our green onions. And it says a half a stalk of green onion. And so I use the lower stalk. Of course, you don't want to add the root. You may be able to add the root, but I don't. But anyway, so I just did a half a stalk plus some of the green up at the top. Okay. My oregano and basil dried is being added. My 4 tablespoons of nutritional yeast is being added. And the next thing are 2 cloves of garlic. So I am going to mute my voice and blend this.
And while she's muting it, Mallory was asking, has anybody frozen aquafaba before? Wondered if that would work. You know, if you've got some beans and you want to use the canned beans and you don't need all the liquid, could you save some of that liquid for another time, either to saute your vegetables or whatever? Has anybody frozen aquafaba before?
No, we've saved it in the refrigerator, but not in the freezer.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay. If you want to, you could chat that for me, so I'll know. Now, I have, on occasion, let's see, what can you use it for? What can you use if you don't like nutritional yeast? That's a good question, Gary. Thank you. I have gotten those little trays, those freezer trays, and I think I put aquafaba in there. And I can't remember if I used it though. So I was curious if anybody else used it. Is there anything else that people have used instead of nutritional yeast to get that cheesy flavor that she's getting with this hummus? You have any suggestions? If you'll put those in the chat, that would be helpful too. Also, Sue, can you unmute yourself and tell about making the broth? Because you've made your own broth. And Debbie, Sue's going to tell us about when she makes her own broth.
Okay.
Yeah, I have made my own broth using, it's the How Not to Die cookbook. There's a real good recipe in there. And you just put different vegetables in, like potatoes, carrots, celery, just kind of scraps that you have. And boil it. I forget how long the time is, but then you put it in your blender, and I don't even strain it. And then I'll do the ice cube trays, freeze it that way, or put it in mason jars, and you can freeze it and have it on hand that way. I like the little ice cube trays because then you can just put like a couple of them in 2 cups of water and you've got your broth.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It's really easy and handy.
You know, and if we're using, Beth pointed out it was important to rinse the canned beans if we're using them, if we want to just dump. And, you know, that frozen ice cubes of vegetable broth could be a nice filler if you've got to rinse, you know, all the aquafaba off those beans. So thanks, Sue. And thanks, Beth, for reminding us of that. Debbie, I think we finished kind of talking a little bit about broth.
There was another thing I wanted to ask you. The yeast, where do you get that? The nutritional yeast?
Glad you said that.
What's the difference in that?
Okay, so this is the yeast that I use, and you can see that I get the industrial 5-gallon container. Not really 5 gallons, but anyways, the large size of nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is not your baker's yeast, and it's not your brewer's yeast. And I will tell you, if you add it to your bread dough when you're making bread, it's not going to taste like cheese bread. So just just a heads up there because I tried it. But anyway, this gives us that cheese flavor in all of our foods. So for all of the foodies who love cheese, this is a great way to go, is the nutritional yeast. So great question, Linda. So here we have our beautiful pizza hummus. Now, I think that we could have actually added just a little bit of tomato sauce or tomato paste in here to give it a really deep tomato flavor, but it's very tasty, okay? And now that we have our hummus, we are going to make our pizzas. And Linda and I are going to have fun with this. Linda, we need to get you over here some. So we have two different types of pizzas that we're going to make. One is the tofonian, and that may be messing up the sound of it, but Spaniard Pitas. And we toasted these just to get them a little bit crispy. We are using the bottom side of it to make it beautiful. And we have, and then we also have our Ezekiel bread English muffin. Okay.
So
And-
lots of options on what to use that hummus for. Great.
Exactly. So the next thing that we're going to do is we have either our pizza sauce to Prego pizza sauce, or we have our Prego low sodium pasta sauce. Okay. And I think we decided that we were going to use the pizza sauce today, right?
Lower sodium.
Yes. So it is very important that when you are choosing a tomato sauce, that you are choosing one that is going to be low sodium. This, for a quarter of a cup, has 200 milligrams of sodium. Bertolli actually goes up to 580. So you really want to be very, very careful. You also want to make sure that there's no oil. Now, there is a little bit of oil in here. It says 1 gram of fat is per serving, okay? So, Linda, you start yours. I'm going to start mine. If you need a spoon, But let me just show you, this is a cheese sauce that I made. It was what I was mentioning to you before. And it's made with potatoes. Now, when it is cold, like it is right now, it's going to be kind of thick like potatoes, but it's still usable. And when you warm it up, it is going to be nice and creamy like it normally was.
And what's in that, Deb? Tell us again, please.
So this has potatoes and the potato water, and these are white potatoes. And the potato water from that, you mix that with some garlic and some onion powder. You also put, now this has a quarter of a cup of cashews in them, and just to give it a creamy texture here. Okay, now I don't think you want that one, but
No. Do you want any pieces?
yes, I do want some of that.
Okay.
So I put this on first because it's going to heat up. And so I'm going to put it on my English muffin as well. Okay, so that's our cheese.
And these are Ezekiel English muffins, Deb?
Yes, those are.
They
And
have no oil.
they have no oil in them, and they're sprouted too. So the next thing I'm going to put is my tomato sauce, my pizza sauce. And you know, this is one of those fun things for the family. These are very easy to do, and your kids can, you know, we are all kids inside, so we can do it, or our kids can do it, but basically we have a smorgasbord of toppings. So Linda, let's pull this over.
Salsa here if you want.
Let's see, how do we make this easy? Okay, so we're sharing. You can see all that we have. And so I am going to, well, why don't you start? Or why don't I hold this over here?
What should go on first, Deb?
I think that's up to you, what you would like.
Okay.
So now some of the things that we have some tempeh over here, Mexican tempeh. We have some sun-dried tomatoes. We have some jalapenos because Linda loves hot. I don't.
Little kick.
Yes. And then we have some fresh mushrooms, some onions, fresh basil from the yard, and then spinach.
And we have some black olives. I didn't open them, shall I?
No,
No.
I don't want black olives, but that is certainly an option. And I wanted to show you this cute little container of olives because if you are like me, if you are using olives, you don't necessarily want to have a great big can. So these are pearl, they're already sliced, and they are perfect for pizza night. Okay, the next thing I wanted to show you is tempeh. If you have not seen tempeh before, this is the container that it comes in. This is actually plain tempeh, and there is no sodium in there. There are marinated tempehs or barbecue tempehs, and they're going to be packed full of sodium. So always try this first and then add your own seasonings to it, okay? So Linda and I are going to start, and I'm just going to grab a glove here. Do you want a glove?
I need
And then we don't have to worry about our kneading spoons and stuff. So I'm going to start with a few onions on mine, and I will put them on both.
And you know, Debbie, I think the key with Meals in a Minute is that, number one, you make that easy hummus, which had, now let's see, I want to be sure I remember what it had. It had beans, it had a little bit of liquid, and that could be vegetable broth if you had to rinse your beans if you did cans. And it had some sun-dried tomatoes. Could I put regular tomatoes instead of sun-dried if I don't have sun-dried?
You know what, Kathy, the recipe, oh no, I think you can put regular tomatoes in there.
Okay,
I think sun-dried just has a more concentration of flavor,
okay.
and that's why it calls for that. And actually, the one that I used was actually smoked, and so it gives it another dimension as well.
Yeah, but if I didn't have it, if I just had fresh tomatoes, I could go with that. And if I had
Probably
a green
so.
onion, yeah. And by the way, Catherine was telling us that her substitute for nutritional yeast, because I asked that, was, Catherine, is it it's mushroom powder? Is that correct? You can unmute and tell me.
Yes, mushroom powder, or you could get dried mushrooms from the health food store and grind them up in your Vitamix or your spice grinder.
Okay.
But I have mushroom powder that I take, and then it doesn't give you quite as cheesy of a taste as nutritional yeast, because I can eat nutritional yeast and I can tell the difference in the food, but you still get that umami meaty taste, which is the taste
Right.
of cheese.
Oh, that is super. Thank you for that suggestion. Okay, so we've got that one as a fill-in for the nutritional yeast, and then you put some seasoning in there. So this was nothing but dumping it in the blender and then just top it with whatever you have in the refrigerator, I guess, really, because
You actually had to add additional water to it. So, and I had the 1 cup of aquafaba. So just to say that we did have to add more.
okay.
Tell more about the zoodles in the hummus.
Okay, so our pizzas are done, right? So I'm not going to turn these on right now, but just see how pretty these are, and just realize that these are something that you can do without any issues. Most of these things plant-based people have on hand, and then they go into the oven for about 20 minutes. Actually, I think it only goes about 15 minutes, just until everything starts getting nice and warm and really crisp on the outside. So yes, so zoodles, I don't know if you've seen these, your food processor may be able to do zoodles. And so what you're trying to do is just get little strings, and you can use these instead of noodles. This is butternut squash, and there are zucchini squash, there are gosh, Kathy, what have you tried as far as zoodles go?
You know, I haven't had zoodles, so I'm interested to see how you're going to use them.
Well, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put some of this delicious hummus on top of it. And now my zoodles are not warm right now, but usually you would use them warm. And then I'm just going to toss it, and it makes a beautiful sauce for it. And then you can have this on the side. You can have it I will eat it just like this. This is delicious.
And what kind of zoodles were those?
This is butternut squash.
Oh my gosh, it looks so good. And with that hummus, yeah. And that could just be a side dish on your plate, couldn't it?
That could be a side dish, or you could put it on top of a salad. And there's a lot of ways you can use this, but on the side would just be perfect. Okay, so this one was easy. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do are our salad jars. Now, Kathy, you have something to show us on salad jars, right?
Yeah, but you want to talk about yours first, or you want me to go?
So let's put this over here right now.
Out of the way.
And so we have our salad jars, and what your thought is on a salad jar is that you want to prep this for the week. You want, or at least 2 or 3 days, because we don't have time in the morning to make meals, and a lot of times we don't have time in the evening to make meals. So if you prep several of these in one day and you have them for the week, you are going to be much better off during the week eating healthy foods that you are enjoying. So the first thing that we are starting with is the 3-2-1 salad dressing. And I believe I added that in there, or no, maybe I didn't add it.
It's there.
Is it there?
Yes.
Okay, so 3-2-1 is Jane's recipe. And we know Jane Esselstyn, and she recommends that we start with 3 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I use fig vinegar in this, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. There you go, Linda, you can squirt yours in. 2 tablespoons of Dijon, and then 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. The reason, and then you mix it all up. I actually used Annie's horseradish mustard because it was the lowest amount of sodium. And I know we always bemoan the point of sodium, but mustard and your ketchup can be very high in sodium. So the Annie's is much lower in sodium. And I like the little kick that the horseradish gives. So the next piece is we're going to add our onions to that. And our onions will kind of become a little bit pickled in this sauce or in this balsamic vinegar. So I added my onions to that. And the next thing I am going to do is add some carrots. So I want to make it pretty. And so we're just doing a layer of all of these. And you see that I had this in a baggie. I like to keep a bag of carrots because if I get hungry, I want to start munching on something, and carrots are a good option to munch on. The next thing I'm going to do is add some zucchini, and I have that chopped already. And zucchini is another one that you can have several days in your refrigerator, already prepared, ready to go. And it makes, notice that we're making a rainbow here of colors. So it just makes it look pretty. And so when somebody looks in your refrigerator and sees all these beautiful jars lined up, they're going to say, wow, that's a gorgeous, gorgeous rainbow. The next thing is going to be our corn. And you know, Linda, if you don't like corn, you don't have to put corn in here. You can put green peas in here if you want.
I was going to ask them, what other kinds of vegetables work well?
Well, any of your beans. And actually, I make a beautiful jar of bean salad using green beans, using garbanzo, black beans, red beans. I mean, I just layer them all the way up. And then I pour that on top of a beautiful green salad and mix it all together. And it's perfect. I mean, just perfect for a barbecue, or, you know, when you're taking something to somebody's house because they see this gorgeous jar of fresh vegetables and or beans, and they just are awed of how beautiful everything is. So the next thing we're going to add are black beans, and those fit nicely on top. And once again, we're just adding another layer of color. And then we're going to add our grain. Now we have wild rice because we had it earlier. And so we're just going to add wild rice, but quinoa is great in here. Farro is great in here.
Deb, does all of these grains, do they keep in the refrigerator if you like cook them? Can you cook them in advance, and can you freeze them?
Yes, so you can cook your grains in advance. They are probably good for at least 4 or 5 days in the refrigerator.
Okay.
So, you know, they're perfect for that. But if you're going to be using them, multi-purposing them, what you probably want to do is freeze them right away and then pull them out when you're about to use them.
Okay.
Okay? Because, you know, if they last 4 or 5 days, if on day 5 you start to use it in another recipe, unless you're going to eat that recipe right away, then you're going to, your rice is going to spoil the rice, or the grain is going to spoil the bunch. Okay, so the next thing is to add some greens. Now we don't have a lot of space here. I have some chopped vegetables that I am going to add, and it kind of fits right on top of there. And I will tell you that when I use this, what I'm going to do is probably dump it on top of another large green salad. And Linda, you have romaine.
Yeah, I was going to tell them about the napkin and the
Yeah,
plastic
yeah.
bag. If you clean your lettuce and get it ready, prep it ahead of time, throw in a paper towel because it absorbs all the loose moisture and it will keep longer.
Exactly. So you're going to use the romaine in there,
Yes.
but you don't have a lot of room either. So you probably want to dump that on top of another large salad. Because I think we've all been accused of eating a large salad in the past, right?
Well, who is it that says that if your salad isn't big enough? Dr. Furman says if your salad isn't big enough, then you're not getting it right.
You're not getting it right. Exactly.
Everybody should be in awe of how big your salad is.
Okay, so check out these beautiful salad jars. And once again, these are going to stay in your refrigerator several days. So check those out.
Do tomatoes work in here, Deb?
Tomatoes do work. Gosh, why didn't I think about that?
To put them on top, maybe?
Right. Yeah, so they don't get soggy. And actually, we could have put some salsa in here as well. So aren't those gorgeous?
So if you turn it upside down, then the salad dressing will drip.
Yeah, so the point is why the salad dressing is at the bottom is when you do take the lid off and turn it upside down, the salad dressing is going to drain all over your salad. So it will be perfect for you.
Debbie, let me show you my salad jars real quick because
Yes, they're beautiful.
we're running out of time, so I don't want to take any more than we need to. And I'm going to get over to those pictures. These are the salads I make at the beginning of the week, and I have 7 jars for my husband, and I do 7 jars for myself. And I do the same thing. I put the wet stuff on the bottom, and then whatever I found fresh in the grocery store goes in these salads that might fit, like different kinds of cabbages, carrots, beets, tomatoes, and I don't put the dressing on. I just leave the wet vegetables on the bottom, then finish up. And when I finish, that's what it looks like. It's got a lot of greens, and then it's got some wet stuff on the bottom. And those work out pretty well for us. And there they are in the refrigerator. But you can see mine are really full of greens with just a little bit of the other colors and things. And again, it just needs to be what you like to put in a salad jar. Just remember, when you turn it upside down, then the wet stuff will wait. And I mean, it's, wait a minute, Debbie, that's backwards. When you turn upside down, the wet stuff goes on the bottom, right?
You start with the wet on the bottom. When you turn it upside down, the wet stuff goes all over.
That's right. I was thinking that doesn't sound right. Wait a minute. Good. So tell us about our last recipe. That one was
So the last recipe is the beautiful, beautiful almond chocolate mousse. And we're going to go through this quickly. We have our frozen blueberries. So what you want to do is you want your blueberries defrosted so that you're getting that juice, and you want to put that in the bottom of your blender first. And then on top of that, we are going to add our dates. And you, of course, want to pit those dates. And so those have been pitted. I hope they've been pitted, yes. And then the next thing we're going to do is let's add our sweet potatoes. No, I'm going to add the chocolate. So this is just plain cocoa, Hershey's cocoa. And the reason why I did that in that order is because that usually when you turn your blender on, the cocoa just kind of flies all over the place. So the next thing are sweet potatoes. Now I'm using beautiful orange sweet potatoes, but let me tell you that this is excellent with purple sweet potatoes. Excellent. I'm going to add my vanilla to this. And then the next thing is going to be my almond butter. Okay. Now, Kathy and I talked about the possibility if you made this peanut of using PB2. And I have not tried it, but it's certainly something that you could play with and figure out.
So did PB peanut butter? You could use peanut.
Yeah, that's the
Butter.
one. The
There you
PB2.
go.
Whoops. I don't know why it's doing that, but I'm trying to get back to it. There we go. The kind you want to get doesn't have sugar and salt, and it is the lower fat, and you just mix a little water with it. So that may be something you want to look at. And that was one that Ann Esselstyn recommended as well. So as far as grains, if you want to use any grains in your salad, and that really makes the salad, it makes it more calorie dense, so it fills you up more. There were some good suggestions in the chat. Sue was talking about farro and barley are two that she likes to use. And we have another one, quinoa, freekeh, and farro, leftover rice. You can't go wrong with leftovers. And by the way, Valerie asked about what is freekeh, and it is an ancient grain, but it's a green durum wheat. And that was something new to me. So thanks for sharing that information. So Debbie's recipes, I don't know if you saw it, but Sue posted the link to the recipes in the chat box. And then of course, when we put the YouTube up on YouTube, when we put this up on YouTube, it will have the link there too, so you can get them. And it's also in the email that went out early this morning, but you may want to save your chat so you'll have that link just in case if you're not sure you've got the recipes. So I hope that as Debbie's finishing this one up, it's giving you some ideas of how you can, number one, save money, but you can also do things much faster if the need is there. Because sometimes we go home and, it's like, can we just get something on the table? And a lot of these recipes were just dump and serve, dump, heat, and serve. So Debbie, what have you got there?
So this is our chocolate mousse. And now the recipe recommends that you chill this for a couple of hours, because remember your blueberries were defrosted, and the processing does take a little bit of, makes it hot. So just chilling this would be really nice. And then serving it with your fresh fruit is going to be lovely. It's just going to be beautiful.
Deb, will that work with a food processor, or does it have to be a high-speed blender?
I would say a food processor.
Okay, so
Would
if you
do
don't
well.
have a high-speed blender, you probably would want to cut the dates a little smaller.
Yes, and actually, if you soak your dates in water or almond milk, and I had to add a little bit of almond milk to the recipe just now, but if you do it that way, then the dates are going to be softer and it's going to be easier to process, or even in a regular blender. So we are going to finish up just lining up our food here. We did all of these recipes. Of course, we had everything prepped, and that is the key there. We want to plan, we want to prep, and prepare so that we can get these meals done certainly in a minute. Let's put that up here. So, KZ, if you can zoom in on some of these things.
Debbie, you want to go back to your phone camera? We can do that. We'll spotlight it.
So let's see.
I think
Let
it
me-
shows
I don't-
well on that one, on your phone camera.
Okay, so which one is the phone camera?
The one on the bottom. I don't know if it's on the bottom for
The
you.
one that
but-
just says Debbie.
Thank you, Ken.
Oh, now see, I've got Linda in both of us. Okay, so once again, we started with the Mexican rice. We showed several ways that you can do the Mexican rice. We still have this large pan of Mexican rice, so that can last several days. Don't be afraid to freeze that.
It freezes and it goes in the freezer.
Yeah, and I would say if your rice had been frozen, maybe don't freeze that, but because you don't want to refreeze your rice.
Mhm.
But certainly, if your rice was fresh, you could freeze it without any issues. We also stuffed our delicado squash. The next thing we made was our beautiful salsa that has all of the gorgeous flavors, and I cannot wait to get these champagne mangoes in me this afternoon. The good news is that Linda and I and KZ are here, and we get to enjoy all of this food this afternoon.
Yeah.
The next thing that we made was our beautiful pizza hummus. This can be used with our chips. We also used it on our pizza, but don't worry, it can also be put on a baked potato or a sweet potato without any problem, and it will be delicious. The next thing we did is we put the hummus on top of our zoodles. Some of you were not aware of zoodles, but certainly that is something that is already pre-done at Publix, or you can get a zoodle machine from Best Buys, or you can get this Salad Master food processor, and it does that as well. The next thing we did are our beautiful salads in our jar. And these will be great for 4 or 5 days in the refrigerator. And the very last thing is our hummus. Usually I start my class with dessert first because life is short. So anyway, this is the sugar in here were dates. And a lot of people are afraid of dates. Dates are full of fiber. They are also full of potassium. They have more potassium than bananas. So, but they are very high calorie, very high energy. Okay. Are there any questions? I hope we did a good job for you.
Oh, I think you did a great job, and lots of interaction in the chat box about things other people have tried as well. If you have any other questions, just jot them down. We're just going to finish out by number one, thanking Debbie and Linda and KZ for a fantastic job. Wonderful camera work on the part of KZ, and Debbie and Linda know how to cook for sure, don't they? Yay, thank you very much.
My mentor taught me how to cook.
Good
You
job.
showed me a lot.
And then before we go, I just want to show you what's coming up next. And so you may want to take a look at this. This is going to happen in October. This will be when our regular schedule begins again. And we'll have Dr. Monica Agarwal, and she's going to do Body on Fire. And that's her new book. And she Zoomed with us a few years ago, but this is a new book, and I think you'll really like it. And then the next one we're going to have, Debbie, will you tell about our next speaker for November?
Yes, November 4th is going to be Dr. Neil Barnard. He's my boss man, and he will be discussing your body in balance. And it's going to be a tremendous presentation. November 4th, same time, 11:50 in the morning.
Yeah, we'll do another lunchtime meeting for that as well. So watch your newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, just send me an email at 54321 health@gmail.com, and we'll put you on the email list. And watch for this on our YouTube channel. Anything else you want to add, Debbie?
Debbie, no, but I hope you'll all join us for another class somewhere down the road.